Weed can steal years from your life while looking completely harmless. That is what makes it so hard to see until the cost has already been paid. This is not a popular thing to say, but it is true, and I am not saying it from the outside. I used every day for 15 years before I stopped. Late at night, your apartment still looks like a life that could go somewhere. A laptop is open, a gym bag sits by the door, a message needs an answer. Nothing in the room looks like a catastrophe. That is exactly the trap. The trouble does not announce itself. It arrives looking like comfort. At first, it does not feel like danger. It feels like mercy. Music opens up, food gets better, the pressure in your chest loosens. A lonely night becomes easier to sit through. A bad week becomes easier to blur. Without that honest pleasure, none of this makes sense. You never decide to ruin your life. You are stressed, or bored, or tired of feeling awkward in your own skin. Weed offers a simple deal. Give me this evening and I will make life feel easier. And you say yes. The problem is not one dramatic collapse, the problem is drift. You start choosing whatever fits the numb version of yourself. The easier plan, the conversation you do not feel like having, the easier night. Hard things slide to tomorrow. Then tomorrow starts sliding too. Your life does not explode, it gets padded. And because nothing looks broken, nothing feels urgent enough to fix. The real threshold is not the first hit. It is the moment life starts bending around the need for one. A friend calls, you stand at the door with your hand on the knob, then you let the call die and sit back down. A class opens up, a train could be caught, you keep choosing the smaller room. That would be bad enough. But the deeper price comes next. In your 20s you can drift and still look like you are moving. Work is just beginning. Opportunities still arrive half on their own. You mistake that borrowed motion for your own momentum. Then the cover thins. Friends need calendars, careers ask for consistency, relationships ask for presence. Life starts rewarding people who can stay with discomfort long enough to build something. You become someone who almost shows up. Almost answers, almost commits. Time does not pause while you wait, it just leaves. Your world gets smaller in ordinary ways, messages sit unanswered too long, invitations get a maybe, then silence, friends stop organizing around someone who may disappear at the last minute. One night you stand in the doorway with your jacket half on, listening to voices somewhere else, and send the cancellation text instead of going. That move feels painless in the moment. That is what makes it dangerous. Weed does not isolate you by force. It teaches you to participate in your own isolation. Avoidance feels reasonable. Loneliness feels manageable. Then loneliness drives you back to the same habit that deepened it. That loop tightens, and isolation is only half the price. Love comes next. Love suffers in the same language later. If you are single, you keep postponing the more exposed version of life. You will date when you feel sharper, steadier, more like yourself. But the loop is quietly wearing down the initiative that could have helped you become that person. If you are with someone, the damage is quieter and worse. A kitchen after midnight, one person still trying to talk, you already halfway gone. Apologies that sound sincere and change nothing. Trust does not always shatter. Sometimes it evaporates. By the time you understand what has been leaving, some of it is already gone. The habit steals more than evenings. It steals the years when a life gets built. Morning comes whether you are ready or not. Some days you are late. Some days you show up on time and mentally absent. You keep telling yourself you just need the right week, the right mood, the right reset. That version of yourself never quite arrives. Skills require repetition, discipline requires friction, confidence requires evidence. You are supposed to be building all of that. Instead, you are building a pattern of postponement. You are not only losing progress, you are losing the version of yourself you might have become. But even that is not the real breaking point. For a long time, you believe weed is helping you carry the darker feelings. Sometimes it really does. It softens anxiety, it lowers shame, it dulls loneliness. Then one night the deal flips. Same couch, same room, same ritual, but now the air feels stale. Your chest is tight. Messages sit unanswered. Work is waiting for morning. Someone you love is asleep in the next room. Or gone, or tired in a way you helped create. For the first time, you feel both the comfort and the cage. The thing you used to soothe pain now feeds it. There is nothing dramatic about this moment, that is why it is so hard to dodge. By the time you see it clearly, you have to admit that you are helping your own life disappear. The decision to quit does not feel glorious. It feels plain. Maybe it happens before dawn, maybe after an argument. Maybe it starts with one thing from outside yourself, a message you finally open, one sentence from someone who loves you. I miss you when you are gone. In that hour you see it clearly. The habit is giving you nothing except postponement. Quitting is not a punishment, it is an exit, not a clean exit. Sleep gets strange, time stretches. Every feeling you spent years blunting comes back in full. But this is where the story turns. Not through inspiration, through a decision. You throw it away. The motion is small, the meaning is not. Recovery begins badly. That is how you know it is real. One afternoon you open a message you should have answered weeks ago. Normally, shame would let it rot longer. This time you reply, "Sorry I disappeared, I am trying to come back." Then you hit send and stay in the discomfort instead of reaching for relief. That is how it begins, not as a miracle, as one honest act, then another. A walk, a task finished awake, a promise kept in private. Little by little, life starts answering. A morning stops feeling hostile, a laugh lands without chemical help. Self-trust returns, not as a mood, but as evidence. The renewed life is not a miracle ending, it is believable. Some years and some relationships do not come back, that grief belongs in the story. But the future is no longer leaking out of you so fast. One morning you stand in a doorway with a bag packed for where you are going. The light outside is ordinary. Nothing about the moment is cinematic. That is why it matters. You are not being lifted. You are stepping. If you are in the earlier chapters, lost time is real, lost confidence is real, lost discipline is real, but real is not final. These things can be rebuilt. Your mornings can come back. If you are addicted or close to it, there is a way out. The road out is hard because it asks for your life, not your intentions. That is also the good news. So you go down the stairs and into the day. Nothing magical happened. You just stopped disappearing and started coming back.